Our guest today starred in the hit Netflix show Rhythm and Flow and has music featured in major films and commercials everywhere. Known as the Professor of Rap, he's appeared on podcasts like No Jumper and recently went viral with his song Hell Yeah, charting at number 3 globally on Instagram. His tracks have been featured on HBO's Silicon Valley, Netflix's Someone Great, and his hit The Perils has amassed over 10 million streams on Spotify. Please welcome OldManSaxon.
Hey, y'all.
Yes, sir. I want to make sure like this podcast is a mouthpiece for you to talk about everything.
Okay.
And I know you're probably used to people when you speak on your music, when you speak on your journey, you're probably used to speaking to people like other podcasts who are very tight knit into the music industry and the music game. They know all the names, they know all the history. Yeah. And I kind of want to take a little bit of a different angle. And for the people listening, I want you, like, every bit of significance, like the history on the names, like, basically, you like feel free to teach your story, teach the whole rap game, hip hop culture, everything, and yeah, like, there's no such thing as over talking.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Hell yeah, that's good to know.
But yeah, let's jump in it, man. Who is OldManSaxon? Who's Saxon? You know, in general, and who are you as a person? Where do you come from? And all that good stuff.
Hey, y'all, I'm OldManSaxon, a.k.a. Saxon Kinsey from Denver, Colorado. Yeah, I come from Denver, Colorado, which is a weird place. It's like a pretty weird city, right? And then when you see a lot of the music that comes out of Denver, Colorado, it's a lot like just regular rap, right? And it doesn't really show what the city is, which is this weird-ass brewery city, a lot of white people ski-boarding, snowboarding. It's like, yeah, I'm a black rapper. Yeah. And it's like, no, hold on. So for me, it was getting the feel of the city in me as a person, as a rapper, and I feel like I really show what Denver is like too, right? And Denver, or OldManSaxon, comes from everyone being young this, little that, right? There's a lot of rappers that are like that.
Speak on it.
And I remember when I was growing up, Little Bow Wow, right? Everyone was just like, it's Little Bow Wow.
Yeah.
And then he grew up, and then he changed his name, and it was just Bow Wow. And I was like, you grew out of your name, dude. Like, you completely grew out of your name. And so as OldManSaxon, I can only grow into my name. I can only be like 90 years old rapping and be like, that's OldManSaxon. Like, of course.
Man.
Yeah.
So you kind of set yourself, like, it was something preemptive. You almost set yourself up for that, to fill the shoes and continue to wear the shoes the whole journey.
You got to think about your future at some point as a rapper, right? And I feel like that's something that not a lot of rappers do. That's why you are young this and little that. And then there's studies that show that rappers die younger than any other genre, right? They die 45 years younger than the national average. So you couple that with the idea that everyone wants to be young and young money. There's a rapper called Da Baby, Little Baby. Like, what's the next thing? Fetus Boy, or like, what's the next thing, right?
It just keeps going.
Yeah, so eventually you have to start thinking about your future. And that's where OldManSaxon came from. But it also, to be frank, I was in traffic in Los Angeles, and I was with one of my friends, Anthony Hayes. He directs all my music videos. And I was just complaining. He was like, they should call you OldManSaxon. And I was like, yeah, that is what they should call me. And then from there, just like kind of deconstructed the name and what it meant to me. And yeah, now can't wait to be 80 years old and be OldManSaxon. It's going to be amazing.
Do you feel like, so you're from Denver, right? And Denver, like you said, it's kind of one of those places when you're going to Denver, Colorado in general. When you think Colorado, most people are thinking like mountains. Yeah. They're gonna do something like ski related or a cabin. How do you feel like
a cabin?
No, when I think Colorado, I'm picturing wooden cabin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not picturing like rap, hip hop. So how do you feel like Denver, or just how do you feel like being from Denver directly influenced your music, or did you see things that kind of changed the direction or your flow or your cadence or thing? You know what I mean?
Like, absolutely. So what happened in Denver when you're in high school, because Denver has no specific sound, because we're kind of in the middle of everything, everyone got their influences from different parts of the world or of the United States. So there was a lot of kids who were like, oh, I love Cameron. Like, okay, that's interesting. Oh, I love Paul Wall, like the Texas rap. And then there was a segment of kids that liked Chicago rap or Florida rap. And then there was was me and my friends who loved California Bay Area stuff, and I just grew up on it. My brother, he always told me about these rappers from the Bay Area, and to an extent, when your brother's 6 years older than you, you're gonna like whatever they like, kind of. So I was deep into Bay Area, Mac Dre, E40, X-Rated.
E40, yeah.
Oh my gosh, and that's actually E40 is the time where I realized I liked hip hop, because I used to try to impress my brother, and I would listen to E40 raps and I would write them down, and I'd pause it, rewind it, write it down, pause it, rewind it, and then you think about that. I was just 7 years old, like damn, I was really into
crazy,
the lyrics of the music. Like I don't know how many 7 years old are like that. So yeah, it was because you're from Denver, you kind of almost had to pick a place to be influenced by, and then you kind of went with that, and then you battled all your other friends who were like, no, New York's the best. You're like, no, I like the Bay Area. So yeah, I was completely influenced by the Bay, but also because my friends were influenced by everyone else, I was still influenced by them too. Yeah.
So I watched Rhythm and Flow, and for those of you who don't know, you should go on Netflix and you should watch it. Essentially, it is a show where they cast people, right, from all different rappers, different artists, essentially from different parts of the country. They come on, they perform for a spot, they get that spot, and then they perform in front of the judges. And the judges, some of the judges, like notably Snoop Dogg, T.I., Cardi B, Chance the Rapper. And I want to speak on this because I saw in the show, you said, I think it was in the show, or maybe it was on No Jumper, you said one of your inspirations was Cab Calloway. Is that correct?
Yeah, Cab Calloway.
So, for those of you who... Dude, as soon as I heard you say that, I immediately, like, the dots connected, you know? And I just got to play a tiny bit of his music.
Absolutely.
Just for the...
Is this the infirmary?
And just kind of his, and they're going to see a flash up of it. But the way he moves, the way he brings the audience into his act.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Even of the Rhythm and Flow, the very first audition, it's me saying, hidey, 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 ho.
Yes.
I immediately brought everyone in right then. Hody, 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 hey, hody, hody. Yeah, he's one of those people where I realize you have to have something else as a rapper, especially if you're rapping lyrics that people don't know, right? One of the very first shows I went to was in Boulder, Colorado. It was two people rapping, and they were just, I couldn't hear what they were saying. They were cuffing the mic, and it just wasn't an entertaining show, right? It's terrible. And I didn't know what they were saying. So at that moment, I was like, oh, there has to be a little bit extra flair that needs to go into it. And Cab Calloway is one of those people who's just like, he's just singing. He has the luxury of having a band behind him and everything. But if that band wasn't there, it was just him, you would still be entertained by his movements, his voice, his dancing. Yeah, and I think that's something that's missing in a lot of live hip hop shows, that extra bit of entertainment. And that's what I like to give.
And I noticed it because, I mean, the way you brought the audience in, and you know, if we're speaking on the show, I don't even want to get into the whole, because you hear it a million times. Like you hear the debate of like who should have won your battle. And I'm gonna say, your style is so unique, you know, and I wouldn't be saying that if I really didn't mean it. So I know a lot of people who are in the music industry who are kind of those names that you spoke on, like that same, you know, level, but that same kind of music too. Yeah. And I only say that because your flow, everything, most artists, right? And I don't even want to act like I'm an expert, you know, in the music industry, but I'll say most artists, they hop on a beat, they get the beat intertwined with what they're saying, and they ride it, and they kind of pull it here, they pull it there. It's completely different. It's like the beat and are doing like a dance.
Absolutely.
You're like pulling it left and right.
That's amazing to hear.
Enunciating words longer here.
Yeah, well, I think, thank you first off.
It's
that's
crazy.
Amazing. Yeah, there's been like a, epidemic in hip hop of people being like, I don't write, right? And you can tell, right? Because you're kind of you can tell that you like came up with the melody first. You go, that's what people do now. They come up with the melody and then they kind of fill the words in, right? And I don't feel like, and in that just alone, it lacks individualism, right? Because you're just going with the what words do you want to say first? Because I promise you, most people can make a hit rap song by just coming up with a melody and just saying some nonsense, right? But yeah, I think the reason that dance that you said is happening in my music is the lyrics and the message to me is first, and then it's like, okay, how can I fit this message into the beat instead of fitting the melody and then the message after?
It's crazy to hear, because I know from the viewpoint of somebody making music, that is the goal. But what gets executed on isn't always that. The message always gets lost in translation, I feel like, because I'll listen to a song from an artist who, and I always have love and respect to people who self-produce and to people who kind of direct like videos, which we'll get on that because your videos are great.
Thank you.
But you can almost see and hear lyrically a few of the lines and a few of the verses, like, this applies to me, like this applies to where I'm at in life. Then it goes off the deep end. It's like, what is that? Like, what? It's like, no, like you'll hear about like the breakup and the love and the appreciating life at its lows, and then hoes and titties. And you're like, what? Like, how does that?
Well, yeah, that's because in my mind we've kind of made a conscious decision of what it means to be a rapper, right? It's one of those things where it's like a amalgamation of just a bunch of like, can I cuss?
Oh yeah,
shit. It's a bunch of shit, right? It's like, hey, as a rapper, I know that I need to hit these points. I need to talk about hoes. I need to talk about hurting someone. I need to talk about money. I need to talk about this, right? But let's break it down from this. I need to talk about money. We're talking about something where, what's the statistic? 0.1% of people own the majority of the wealth, the world's wealth. And we're like, yeah, I got money. It's like, no, you don't. No, we know you don't.
The 1%.
Right? Yeah, you're not in the 1%, right? I got all these hoes. Like, no, like a normal person doesn't have a bunch of hoes. I don't. I'm married. I don't have. You got hoes?
Yeah. What about you? He does. He does, actually.
He's on the phone texting someone.
He is right now. He's sliding in DMs.
Yeah, but I think there is a little bit of specificity to your own story that goes like underappreciated in hip hop. And the more specific the story, the more universal. That's just how it is. There's no way in the world I could write a song about being homeless as a rapper, and you're telling me that that's like a hit song. It's not. It shouldn't be, because a rapper is about making money, getting hoes. And so, yeah, I think that there's an individualism that needs to kind of come back into hip hop, and just understand that your story matters. You being a rapper isn't entertaining anymore. It's actually done. It's been done. Like we've done it, everyone. We've done it. So yeah, I think people should start telling more of their own stories and then fit it into the beat.
You just said a gem that I think a lot of people just like. Did you say the more specific the story, the more universal?
Absolutely. I have a song, The Perils, right?
So good.
So I don't want to skip ahead into this.
No. Hit it.
This song, the first verse of this song, is about just a day in the life of being homeless. You can't tell me that there should be 30 million people that have listened to this song and have related to it, because this is the verse. 6 a.m. wake up. All alone. What can your boy say? Shit, shower, shave is taking the whole day. I remember waking up in Los Angeles, sweating at 6 a.m. because it's just hot as hell. I'm in the back of my car. Shit, shower, shave taking the whole day. I had to go to a gym across town to take a poop, to shower, and to shave. That takes a long time. I can't just get up and go to the bathroom. There's no bathroom.
Man.
Shit, shower, shave taking the whole day. Thinking with no pay is like fucking with no size, or cutting with no knife, or trusting your hoe, right? Like, why? I remember being in my car, LA, Barnsdall Park, and I'm sitting there, and I say, thinking with no pay, it's like fucking with no size. I remember sitting there, and I was scared to move because I thought it was gonna cost money. I swear to God, I was sitting there like, I'm not breathing right now because I'm scared it's gonna cost money. And as a rapper, what does that mean? Like, I'm broke. I can't even fucking move because I think it's gonna cost. So trusting your girl, right? Like, why? Interviews asking me where my stripper pole, but I can't drop the ball, so I spit, give and go. I was in Barnsdall Park. I had a song that came out recently called before I was home. It's called On Point, right? It's haters everywhere. Goddamn, it's like a fun party song. This radio station from Miami called me. Hey, you Saxon, you live in L.A. You must have a stripper pole in your house. They were just laughing, and I'm in my car sweating. Interviews asking me where my stripper pole, but I can't drop the ball. So I spit, I rap for them, and I hung up. So I spit, give and go. If I give them that real shit I'm concealing, broke, no dough, and chilling, they laughing me out the billing. That's what I felt like. If I was like, hey y'all, actually no, I don't have a stripper pole. I'm homeless. I felt like they'd have laughed me out the. Like, what is this? Can I use your restroom? What? No. What type of noise is that? Most of these fools ain't loyal cats. They smoke until the foil's black. I remember having to go to different places. Can I use your restroom? Can I use your It's not, people forget all of these things that like go into not having a home. I just wanted to poop. Like, that's all I wanted. Can I use your restroom? No. What type of noise is that? Most of these fools ain't loyal cats. They smoke into the foil black. That's me trying to separate myself from the drug addicts, from the people who are homeless because they made bad mistakes. And then the next line, sorry. Trees started confessing, departed from Wessons and restarted the lesson. So that means I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make myself different. It's just me like having problems, but I'm trying to get away from what we're talking about in rap. Departed from Wessons, restarted the lesson. We started from less than.
That was my favorite.
Yep.
Now I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard, like when I'm telling you, like when you go on Spotify and you see the streams, it's like 10 million plus. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, like a lot of those were like I was probably bing, bing, bing. Hey Google, bing, bing, and when that verse really hit, like I started from less than.
Duh.
Man.
No excuse though. And then it follows up like, yeah, we started from, there's all these things happening that could have been done to me that are causing all these things to happen right now, but still no excuse. Just wanted a roof over my head. 2 hoes, skin black as minute bowl, make cash for my crude flow. A house on the hill, who knows? And then this is the universal part. This is where the specificity of it becomes universal. Just want to go home. Who doesn't feel that, right? You could be at work. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
You could be abroad. I just want to go home. So that's where the specificity of my story made it universal. It was all this shit that was specific to me. And then the chorus is, just want to go home. Like, yeah, that's where the universal message is. And people feel that.
And the power of you saying, I just want to go home. And the fact that at the time, and you can use the word, but it's like, what's a home to someone, you know? What's
exactly.
a home? And but to hear you, it's like, I just want to go home. And everyone's like, I relate to that.
Absolutely.
And the fact you wrote that, like in your car.
Yep.
And that's home, you know? That's home. It's not like shade. It's not, but like, that's home. You're like, I just want to go home.
That's it.
And when you have that context that you were, was it like 13 months?
13 months,
When 13 months living out of your car, I just want to go home, and that's home, and you're resetting, you're carrying your passion. I actually want to share one quick thing, because I tried to dissect. I only wanted to pick 2 songs. Okay. I didn't want to be too analytical.
Yeah.
But I wrote a tiny synopsis of Hell Yeah, because it's such a polar opposite in a way to the Perils. Yeah. And for the Perils, I wrote essentially very short synopsis. An emotional and psychological toll of struggling in, I use the word poverty, hopefully that's not offensive at the time.
No, not at all.
But psychological toll of struggling in poverty while chasing dreams and feeling somewhat invisible. It captures financial stress, being alone, self-doubt, but the constant grind, where success feels just out of reach, but in touch.
Yep.
And
yeah.
What do you think?
That's pretty spot on.
Yeah?
That's spot on.
Let's go.
Well, yeah, because in the second verse, it's like I'm all around all these LA people, and like there's beautiful men. Dude, the first day I was homeless, I was sleeping in the Hollywood Hills like a bass head. I was sleeping in the Hollywood Hills, and so even just having to figure out like where to sleep, but then sleeping in the Hollywood Hills, broke, homeless, in poverty. There's no problem with that. And being right next to $1 million mansions, it's just like, God, I want it. Like, I want it. So even the pain of that, it's not like being broken in Arkansas or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm sleeping out of right next to $100 million houses. Yeah, it was hard. So that was spot on.
And they're very like, you know, people are always moving around. So if you're parked up somewhere, did you ever have, I'm assuming, yeah, but were there a lot of times where it's like, hey, like you got to move, or hey, you
Yeah,
got to.
well, that was the first night I slept outside of someone's house. A parking attendant knocked on my door, like, hey, he was so cool too. He was just like, hey man, come on.
Hit you with the. So
I was just like, all right, I'll move. Then I had to move to like Koreatown, which was where like more homeless people. And I remember this, one of the crazier stories. It's just, I don't even know if he's a real dude, but I was sitting out in my car, writing raps or something, and then some dude was like standing behind my car. It was like 2:00 in the morning. Like standing behind my car, like on a pole. And I was like, all right, I gotta go. So I drove away. And then he was like, where are you going, Ford? And I was like, oh my God, like that was scary. And then the next day I come back and the dude is just standing in the middle of the street, like under a bridge. It was like a movie. It was like there were lights
sounds
up.
like an intro to a movie.
I was just like, all right, let me get the fuck out of here. But yeah, man, there's just so many weird things that happen when I had my car broken into twice while I was sleeping in it. I had like just random like scary ass events where like it was like, damn, this isn't fun. But it was honestly one of the more fun moments or years of my life, like to finally have this rite of passage and be like, okay, this is what it means to be a man. Yeah, it's like this. There's no rites of passage in the Black community. There's just not. Like in the American community a lot, right? It's like, and that's that's why I'm trying to get people to like talk about their future a little bit more. But like, yeah, you get to a point as an adult where you're like, oh, I'm an adult now. What the fuck do I do? And my thing was, yeah, I'm an adult now and I'm sleeping in my car. This is it. So I took that 13 months as like a rite of passage into becoming a man. It took me, I was 25 years old, but it worked right after I had a kid. So
do you feel Do you feel like, and I hate to hang up on this one chapter of your life. Well, I promise we'll get into the others.
Huge chapter. That was a huge chapter.
Do you feel like the time to write? And I just want to preface this. I want to let people know who maybe aren't in touch, who aren't listening to your stuff. They're probably listening to your stuff and don't know.
Yeah,
or maybe they are listening and they do know.
Yeah.
But for the people who are listening and don't know or haven't listened, I want to ask, from a lot of your songs, if you go on IMDb, right? Is it BD or DB?
IMDb.
I always read that backwards. Yeah, always. Every time. I think so. But I went on there and I saw 4 different movies, 4 different shows that were playing your songs, and that's not to include, I'm assuming, like commercials. I saw you had a few, and so your music, and these, I went under the analytics to the movies, and a lot of those movies actually got like premiere U.S. film, and they won awards. And I went in there and saw, wow, your songs, there it is. It's your name, your song, and I saw one, The Perils, and. When you were going through such a hard time in your life, you were homeless, essentially you lived in your car. When you were going through that chapter of your life, although it seemed so close but so far, did you feel almost more in touch with your art, your craft, and just, I guess, life in general?
Absolutely I did. I stopped listening to rap around that time, and I was just like focused on myself, because I think that's something I realized too, is like you kind of like absorb music in and you make it yours, whether you know it or not. It just kind of become a part of your identity. But yeah, like I would, at no point in that time of living in my car did I think that it was permanent. It was like, this is temporary. I'm gonna get out of this.
That's
I'm
inspirational.
Yeah, and then I can't stress enough. There was never just like once you get into like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months of doing it, you're like, damn, this sucks. But like, why don't you get it? There was never a point where it's like, no, like I can't do this. So yeah, even the thought of the same things that were negative about it were super positive too, right? So the idea of waking up at 6 a.m. sweating, like that was, wake your ass up, like get to work. The idea,
alarm clock.
Yeah, it's like, wake up, let's get to work. The idea of sleeping outside every night, right? Having the sunroof open was amazing. Like having that time to be in my own thoughts was amazing. I had never. It was
liberating.
Yeah, and I realized I got to be more specific in my like goal in life, because for the longest time I was like, I want to live by myself. Like, just want to live by myself, and I got got it. I lived by my. I sure did. I was sleeping in my car, and so, but I knew I needed that, and so yeah, it was just. It connected me with my art more by being more in my thoughts. And I remember hearing something on a radio station. I used to listen to LA radio all the time because that was the only thing I could listen to. And there was a dude on the sports radio show, and he was like, if you don't like being alone, then you're not in good company. And I remember being like, damn, that's true.
Yes, very true.
That's true. Like sometimes you need to be alone and be with your own thoughts, and that shouldn't scare you. And it was made me write some beautiful music.
Let me ask you this, right? So, knowing that you had that chapter of your life, that rite of passage, and you going through all of that, and I know I say it all the time, so I didn't grow up in a great situation. I did not.
What do you mean?
So there's always worse. So there's always worse. So I'm always like, it's a relative scale. But growing up, my parents got divorced young age. Whose hasn't? You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily, but we'd bounce around a lot. So 4 a.m., knock, knock, knock. My mom's like, I have custody now. Bam.
Wow.
And my dad still paying child support. Even when we moved back with my dad's still paying child support because he moved to this country at the age of 20, and he had decisions to make, but he chose to move to America and he didn't understand the legal system. So he was like, I don't understand how this works. Even though you're living with me, I'm just going to pay your child support.
Wow.
And he didn't want to get arrested or anything crazy. He just didn't understand kind of how the legal system worked. And I can't knock him. He was new to the country. And so we would bounce around like mom's house, dad's house. My mom, at one point even left my brother outside my dad's job middle of the night.
Wow.
Just left them. He's like, I'm outside a pizza joint. Like, what the heck? He's like a 15-year-old kid outside a pizza joint that's closed all night. And so, all through, and no pity party because there's always worse. But my dad tried, he did. He had 3 kids, essentially. We lived with him for a majority. He tried, he was single. He worked at, a gas station and he tried to make it work. And just the levels of stress, he actually ended up having a self-induced stroke because we were 3 kids going crazy. And
self-induced?
Just anger kind of, He's like, oh my God, I'm trying to sleep. And he has a stroke. And we don't know. We're small. And from that point on, from the point I was a kid and just saw him as dad, I'm the son, he's my dad. From that point forward, his motor functions and his speech was never the same. And here I'm looking at this hyper intelligent guy who can't really render his word. And to this day, he still can't. And he can't certain motor functions, and I was a kid, Anyways, I don't want to go too deep off the deep end, but
No. Wait, well, before you even go on, right, real quick, you said something like it could always be worse, right? And I think that is something that afflicts a lot of people making music to not tell their own story, right? Because there is society could be worse, right? But for you, that's pretty damn terrible.
Exactly.
Right? So you tell that story. Yeah, absolutely. That's how divorce is terrible.
Yeah.
So even the caveat of it could always be worse, not even necessary. I don't want anyone to think that because your story is hella important. So yes, continue.
I used to I remember all throughout high school, man, I would sleep on the floor and it was just normal. In our culture, coming from our background, it's kind of normal, but it wasn't because we were paying homage to the culture. It was no, it's because our bed was infested and all this crazy, but I remember all right, I'm going to sleep and then it's just on the ground. And I think that's what's kind of pushed me so much in life to, I have a company now and a few other things. I think that's kind of what pushed me is remembering those things and hearing. I only really mention that because hearing the perils, it's the peril that I felt like I was in, and even though you felt in peril, you had this consistent output. You're essentially consistently writing, consistently doing this and that. And to this day now, it's I try to tell people, I'm like, hey, whatever Joe Rogan, he says, don't look in the sun. I only say that because he was talking to, what's that artist? The country guy. The country, new on the scene.
Morgan Wallen.
Oh, no. He does country rap, kind of really emotional.
Damn, no.
Man, he was saying, don't look in the sun. And the sun is fame, but your self-doubt. It's your self-doubt. It's like, should I post this? Should I do this? Should I? It's like, just don't look in the sun. Wear sunglasses. Look aside. And to hear you consistently putting out and writing is like something everybody in this generation can, if it's a podcast, if it's business, if it's the clothing line, just put out, don't look in the sun.
Absolutely.
And
don't think too much about, well, let me also preface this by saying, I say it at the end of a lot of my videos, don't take advice, just listen to the stories. Advice is what other people would do, just listen to the stories, right? Because you don't want to fall into, I want to do what you're going to do. No. So my story, was I didn't care about the audience anymore, right? I love the audience. I need them. I need my supporters always, right? But I didn't care about what they wanted to hear because it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from y'all, right? And so even the idea of like being scared to put stuff out, that's coming from the fear of others, right? Just do it. Just do it for you. I promise. Or no, don't take advice. I did it for me. It might work for you also.
That's such a self-aware thing to say, because everybody kind of wants to have control of like your narrative. So they're like, yeah, do what I recommend. But it's like, no, just this is just what I did. How does it apply? How does this puzzle piece
does it work for you?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So let me ask this, right? Going from that stage, when you got cast, when you found out like, here I am, I performed my verses, my ciphers, which they cut your cipher really short.
They cut my cipher hella short.
That bothered me because when I was watching, I was like, there's no way it was that
crazy.
short.
It was crazy. I wish I still remembered it. Maybe I do. But yeah, they cut my shit.
when you found out you were there at that point, like you found out, there I am, I'm performing. What led to that? Like how many years of making music did it take for you to get there? And when you were there performing, when you were like on Netflix performing for all these artists like Snoop and all these different people, Chance, how did that make? It's such a generic question, but how did it make you feel?
Well, okay, that's a great question actually, because it made me feel like I had done the work, right? There were so many people. I don't even know how much I'm allowed to say on this about the show, because they've told me a couple of times, like, stop talking about it.
Really?
Like that. But I'll tell you this.
NDA.
Oh yeah, kinda. It was like, well, that wasn't anything that wasn't that was in production. You can't talk about it, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna talk about it. There were so many people that choked on that show. There were so many people that were like, I forgot my lyrics. There was so much of that when I went up with this character, with this suit, with the glasses, with the hidey ho, it made me realize, damn, I worked for this. This is it. Like, and there were so many people when the show came out, like, oh, who's this guy? He just popped out of nowhere. Like, you fools. Like, this is 10 years.
You've been doing it.
It was 10 years worth of work to get on that rhythm and flow stage for those 2 minutes. I had probably 5 minutes of airtime on that whole show, but did enough.
The crazy thing is, every time they put the camera on you, there's whole Reddit threads, first off, on the topic of like you, not even just your battle, but just you. It's like, bro, who's this? This guy was so like chill, down to earth. So when they clipped like your time, because every time you were on air, you did the most with it, just naturally. I think just kind of naturally. Every time you kind of made every second count, just naturally. And when you saw that they started clipping and moving everything, how did that make you? Dude,
so I knew, well, because I read the contract. In that contract, it said we can edit the show however we want. So I always tell the story. There was one girl who did it. She made it on the audition thing. She made it to the next round in the live performance. She made it to the next round, but they didn't call her back for the next round. And then once the show aired, they showed her getting cut from it, and I was just like, ooh, like
they just like
they showed her rapping, and then they showed the judges being like, no, but it was like, wait, how did y'all even do that? You said she was going to the next round. So I remember that. I remember reading that in the thing and was just like, I'm going to be quiet until I absolutely have to do something.
Yeah.
And then when they said, here you go, I did my thing. But there was no point in that where I felt like I had to do anything extra, because if it all came down to the show's thing, this concept is the hip hop pop American Idol, then I just need to rap. Like, that's all I need to do. So I prepared for my rap. If I wasn't on camera, I had the beat in my ear and I was just rapping. Like, that was it. So yeah, it wasn't, I knew because I read that contract to take it easy.
That's smart. So when you were going through there, right? I remember one of the scenes was everybody is kind of funny because I think when they're setting up the studio or the backstage, they made everything red.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, first off, that's crazy because we already know that color is going to make people mad.
I promise. And we were talking about it backstage, like, why is everything red? Like, I feel like I'm getting angry right now. I was like, yeah, they're doing this. So yeah, that was, I think that was something for sure.
And then they started arguing, and something I noticed is, unless I missed scenes, but what I noticed is I saw you were on the couch to your left, and you like didn't really partake in the argument. You were just like, I'm here on a mission. I don't know what's going on.
And I started that argument, actually.
Really?
I was the one who started it.
Man, I probably missed that.
Yeah, well, no, because they didn't air it, right? So what happened, I'm going to get another letter. It's fine. What happened was they asked me, like, hey, who do you think are kind of the weak links in the show? And I told them 2 people. And one of them was this younger dude. He was like 19 years old, right? First strike, you're like super young.
Was he the one in the white hoodie?
I think Ariane.
Yeah,
he was chill as hell. I loved him. He was great kid. But I said him because he seems nervous. He's young, right? And it's a lot. This whole setup, even this, like these lights right here, that could be like for a lot of people, be like, oh.
I wanted, I was worried. I didn't want it to be too much.
No, this is what it's like, right? Cool. But for him, I was like, yeah, it might be a little too much. He seems nervous. And then they told him I said that. And so they told him, and then he like came and said like something to me, but then someone else started arguing, and then they filmed that. But I was, even then, I was just like, man, I'm not trying to start nothing. I just don't. They asked me a question, I answered. It wasn't like he sucks. He's really good, actually.
It was pretty objective. Yeah, it's pretty
hard. It's a hard thing to be in. Lights, cameras, celebrities, Cardi B. Like, what is happening? Not everyone's just gonna go up there and be like, here we go, y'all. Boom, bow. Like, no, it's not how it works. So,
did you get any sort of like Did you get? And I just want to make sure everybody hears you. So I want to make sure your message is like crisp. Especially you're an artist. I'm like the audio. But did you? I don't want to use the word nervous because nerves is like normal. Anytime someone's going to perform anything or do something of magnitude, I think nerves is important. But did you feel? When you looked across the stage and you saw Chance the Rapper, you saw Cardi B, you saw all these artists, and you're like, I'm performing for them. Did you feel nervous? Did you feel anxious? Like, what was that? What were the thoughts in your head?
I think you said it right. Nerves is normal. You're supposed to have nerves when you're doing something like that. I think one of the things that was the problem is they didn't tell us Snoop Dogg was going to be out there. So we pop it and it's just like, oh my God, Snoop Dogg. So we knew it was going to be T.I., we knew it was going to be Chance, we knew it was going to be Cardi, but the Snoop aspect of it was shocking. But nerve-wise, all of that, this is why I had... This is why I like struggle with like even sobriety around shows, because the alcohol and anything that comes with shows is for the before and it's for the after. It's never for the performance. I've done sober shows and I've felt the exact same way if I was on a half-eighth of mushrooms and 3 shots of tequila. I felt the exact same when I was performing. The nerves come from the before and having to like cope with the idea that, I'm about to do some weird shit. I'm about to perform my art, which was essentially silence before this. Now I'm about to perform this in front of people I don't know. And then the after is, how do I take in the information that they got from my art? Hey, did you like it? Did you like it? Oh, I loved it. But when I'm on stage, I'm sober. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm sober on stage, no matter what I've done before and after. So I say all that to say the nerves were there because it was, sober. It's a big thing, a big production. But when I was on stage, it was the same as if I was performing in front of my brother. Like, honestly, like just in front of one person, same thing.
I think it's a whole different lateral, but so we go and people see it, but we go out and we do these interviews, and sometimes they get crazy. You know, sometimes I don't like script it. I'm not looking for a certain like this type of person's gonna go. I walk around. You know, I'm open body language. Yeah, open body language. All right, cool. Let's pick your mind. Every race, every demographic, every age, every city. It's like there's no like preset to it, and I try to now direct it to more. I guess serious, for those of y'all listening, but if you're seeing this in another context, it's a dating podcast, life podcast, etc. And a lot of the times, it's the same thing. It's like, I don't like alcohol. I don't like really any of that. I think I operate best without. But before I do the recording, it's all the social, like, how are these people like looking? How's their, their squint? How are they reacting after the interview when they leave? Are they happy? And so I have to, and I say have to, but I choose to essentially. I drink a little bit, I make sure I'm loose. And it's like a pregame ritual, cold shower, like a whole thing. And so I kind of feel to a degree, it's like you've done all the work. You've done all the work. You've rehearsed so many times. You wrote your craft in every environment, in every situation. And it's interesting.
Have you done it sober once? Have you ever done it sober?
I have. Yeah, I have. And
was it okay?
I get too in my... I get a little too in my head because there's so many. It's like sometimes it can be like a group of like dimes, like my exact type, a group of dimes, and I'm like,
that's hard.
It's tough to be like, and one says no, one says yes, two say yes, and then you're like, how are they going to respond to this? And there's little tiny, and this is a draw, something I noticed from you that I took down in a note here, but there's little tiny, they're almost milliseconds of moments. It's like this tiny millisecond of moments of body language, of elongating a certain word or opening your hands or an eyebrow raise that completely change how somebody's receiving your message and how you're giving off the message. So sometimes, if I go up and I'm a certain way, if I'm sober, I ask something and I'm just a hair too short with it. And it's like, not feeling it. And then as soon as I have like some whiskey, Coke, whatever, like, let's pop in bottles.
And you're essentially like, you're essentially poisoning your body for like,
isn't it crazy?
Right? It's crazy, right? And so, I'm never gonna like, cause I still drink before shows. I'm still like that, but I have these artists that are like, I'm trying to do this sober. And like, they're like, it's whooping my ass trying to do this sober. And it's good to know from those people that it's hard to do regardless, right? It's going to be hard. But yeah, man, it's not something that I want to promote to people to like drink, but I want y'all to know that it's something I do, and it's not something. But I also, from my story, it's also something that's not necessary to reach your peak talent. That's what I've realized.
100%. I don't even want to get too hippie with it, but get
hippie.
All right, cool. Yeah. I think I really do believe. I don't know. I think you're like a vessel or a conduit to something else. And I think when that creativity bug is like tapping your shoulder, when you think about me, like how am I gonna walk up? How am I gonna speak this verse? When you do that, I feel like your ego almost zaps that creative juice out. And I think you have to be like sometimes like this last weekend, probably one of the best weekends recording, and we'll see it all get dropped this week. But I mean, it was like a movie scene essentially. Nice. And sadly, it was because I had fun. I bought like a good bottle, and I drank, and I was feeling loose. And I sat there and I meditated like an hour before I went out to record. I just sat there looking at the ceiling with my purple lights. I just sat there looking at the ceiling. It's like, it's not you. Just be whatever that creative bug that your brainstorm questions in the shower. Like, what about this? It's like, just submit to that, take you out of the equation. Don't like, what are they going to think of me?
There's been like this woman on a TED Talk a long time ago was talking about what it is to be a genius, and then she found that just historically a genius is something that comes through you and then leaves at some point. So it's up to you to tap into that genius when it comes in, and then once it leaves, you just let it go, right? And so we've had this idea in our society now that I'm a genius, I have all the genius in me, but that's and not where it comes from historically. So, and this isn't to be like, yes, I'm a genius. And no, the thing is, we're all geniuses when it comes within us, and then it leaves. So it seems like you had last weekend that moment of that genius came into you, regardless of if it was the alcohol or anything, but it could have been the meditation, you know? So yeah, I think that's something to really look into, is finding that feeling when it happens, and then not constantly trying to artificially make that happen again, but instead tap into it when it is there, and then let it go when it needs to go, you know?
Amazing. I'm going to bookmark. I want to continue this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to bookmark this. I want to play this part out, because everything is like crowd control almost. It seems like.
I'm OldManSaxon. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I ain't never been in no water, and I ain't never been on nobody's boat.
DJ.
I need to start my musical performance now.
See, it's and the beat too. It met everybody.
Yeah, I haven't said a word.
How you fools doing today? Moving away, new with the pay, need a raise, trust me, I didn't finish. Get to the finish, just been a minute
Gone.
Windows is tinted,
No gas in the whip, though.
Smash is the shit show. Re-up when it gets slow.
Can't tell you my feelings like it's Rick Roll, nigga, that's the chips, no way. Can I do it today? See, patience a virtue. Direct your mentions to be safer before I work too.
Hard to be passing the perk too.
No, I don't know. Go home, it's past your curve.
Kurt.
The kitten's the perk too. Work you, spit no attention to work through. Turn to lean, sipping and childish games. You can file your name, trying to run like the same lil this young that same lines. Run track, nigga. I'm saying y'all just saying the same, and I got my nose up like I'ma stay in the game. Might not, but nobody cop or not.
That's so.
Can nobody walk in my
Dude.
Thank you.
You had Snoop back in his chair. Everybody.
Yeah.
The fact you were like, you know, might nobody cop what I drop. You know, you're just like, maybe they might not, but nobody's gonna walk in my shoes.
Exactly
No,
that is the self deprecation of it, also, of being like, little this, young that, same lines, run track. Nigga, like, I'm being like very critical to them about this one time, one fact. I'm just saying, y'all just saying the same, and I got my nose up like I'm gonna stay in the game. Like you're still there, but I'm still just because I'm a part of the culture, I still have like words on it, but I still might not make it. But yeah, I love that. I love that verse so much. It's such a good verse.
And I'd have to pull up Netflix, because I don't even think they have you versus D Smoke on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's only Netflix. Yeah. But I'm gonna pop the clip up for them. But I want people. I definitely want a DM or something. I want people to give their opinion on it, because I know you've heard it so much, but I swear to you, when I was watching it and I was watching the crowd, like at first it's like, okay, like, you know, you're doing this duet with the beat, and you can see the crowd kind of like, okay, and then they start to get like the delayed. You have like you're giving out your verse, and then it has like a delay and then drop, and then it took a second, and then they caught onto their bam, and then that's when they'd react. And it seemed like, just from my perspective, it seemed like the crowd was more vocal and more into it when you were performing, but I think it was the fact that I think D Smoke's verse was a little more pointed. I think it was easier for people to maybe digest. I don't know. Maybe the judges. I don't know. But to me, again, I'm no hate, but to me, it was just like, it's so obvious, you know, that you, like, you know, it was just so obvious from the wordplay to the way you're dancing with the beat to the way that you're insulting him, like almost comically, which makes it worse. Makes it worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, man. So I think, how did you feel to be on there? How did you feel when you were eliminated? And after the fact, how do you feel like that impacted your musical like your everything, your Spotify, all your outlets? How did that help out?
So I felt like it was very confusing getting kicked off because I was just sure I was gonna win it. I just had that
Same.
feeling, right? I was like, I'm gonna
Everyone
win
on
it.
Reddit.
Yeah, and so once I got kicked off, there was like disappointment, but there was still the idea like that's a good way to get kicked off with some debate behind it. Like I didn't get kicked off like, yeah. I swear the one thing was just like, don't choke. I just don't want to choke in this, like, and then I'll be good. And so I didn't choke. I got my verse off. He got his verse off, and we could tell. I could tell when me and Smoke were battling. There was a time where he almost messed up, and I was like, but he didn't. And I was all right. Well, you did it, and so I wasn't mad about getting kicked off. And it definitely was a good way because people had that debate. They had the conversation. And then my Spotify numbers went hella up. Everything went up for everyone, I feel like, after that show, right? And then, it kind of, then COVID happened, messed me all up. But that is what it was. But yeah, it was, the show changed my life. It's completely changed my life and got me. And the coolest thing about that was the reaction from the fans that were like, you represent me as the outcast. Like, there's not a lot of outcasts in like the rap game, except Outkast, of course. but like there's a certain thing that happens like I'm at a perfect amount of success in my life where I'm not so successful that there's a bunch of people trying to be like me, and I'm not like so successful that like are so unsuccessful that people don't know who I am and they can't find any relation to me. So I'm at this perfect, I'm at this perfect like area where I'm representing people who are the outcasts. No one's trying to be like me because I'm not this like platinum like or artist or whatever. So I think I'm in a really cool place to like represent those people who feel like they don't have a voice for whatever reason,
There's a good in business. They I think it was the founder of like Alibaba, which is this huge like multi-billion-dollar company that's overseas.
They sell stuff? Is it
they're basically if you're a company in the US that wants to start selling like this plant, they are the gateway between the actual manufacturer who's making it, and then you as the seller as like Timmy's plants.
I see.
But the CEO, the founder of that, billionaire, and he spoke on there's a point in business where it's like he's like smaller businesses can be super profitable. That's where you can make some of the most money with the least amount of overhead and craziness and people here, people there, people that. And I feel like that's impact like in general. And I think there's so many ways to make a massive impact on people through your music, through this, through that. And everybody wants to chase like, I want to be that, like the billion, whatever, this. But most of the impact that we see through culture, through everything, is the outliers, the people who are really ingrained in it, who have lived it, who have done it, that maybe they're not like in a studio talking about some stuff that they've never actually done before, and they're making millions of streams, etc. You know what I mean? Like I think some of the most impactful people are there.
Well, those are, once you get to that certain level, you become the popular kid, right? And people want to be like you, right? And so you lose the voice of that outsider, the marginalized person in that. And so it was always, I remember getting that first DM was just like, man, I really appreciate you for like representing the outcast of the culture. I'm like, is that what I'm doing? Right? And that, which also goes back to the more specific the story, the more universal. I promise I'm not thinking about nobody when I'm creating this character. It's just my specific story. It will attach to people if you just keep it yourself. Like if you just make it your own, I promise.
So let me ask you, because I know you, I know for sure you get, I'm assuming you get brought up in conjunction with the show, but you're so much more. And I'm just speaking on my opinion, just my opinion. And it may come across as biased, but I don't think so. It's not just because you're here. It's to speak with honesty. I think you're the only person in the show, from my perspective, that to me, I was like, I don't want to sound like a jab at anybody.
Say it, please.
You're like the only person from the show. I was like, oh, this dude has that it factor, doesn't need, it's not because the show, it just kind of happened along. I was like, oh, he already has the thing. Like he already has, like he's done it. He already has it. I don't want to say persona, but the suits, the kind of goofy, like goofy in a good
No,
way.
you're saying everything exactly how I want it.
And I brought you up to a buddy of mine, and I have a few buddies, like I said, that make music that are super popular right now, like on people's rotations. And I have a couple buddies that are trying to be there.
Yeah.
And I brought up the fact, just, like, hey, do you know who this person is? Like, hell yeah, I do. He's like, well, I watch the show. B, regardless of the show, yeah, listen to him. And he brought you up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's like the rapper, but he's like almost a comedian too.
Yep.
I was like, and I wrote that in my notes, like comedian. And the fact you have that personality, not persona, but personality outside of the show kind of, it's like, yeah, cool. Like, it served you, but you're already that outside of it.
Dude, you're spot on with what you're saying, because also I remember when I was first releasing the Perils, one of my thoughts was, damn, I don't want to be the homeless rapper, right?
Yeah.
And then when Netflix came out, I didn't want to be just the Netflix rapper, right? But there is a bit of talent that supersedes that, right? There was no point when I thought my director who made the Perils video, makes all the good music videos for me, he was like, yeah, I don't want you to just be the homeless rapper. I don't want you to. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen, because this is this time and I'm going to supersede it. I'm going to get past that. But the comedian part is it's hilarious, because if you ever see a live show, I'm trying to get a show in Texas at some point. I pretty much use my live shows as a way to get some of my stand-up out also. So in between the songs, I'm telling jokes. I'll tell you what the song's gonna be about. It'll be funny. Then it'll go in. I have this one bit. Oh, it's so great. I'm so glad you said that because I have this song that is called Smoke That Crack Rock, right? And it's a fake song, right? And I started and I go, all right, here we go. I did it last show. And it was like, this song got to number 3 on Instagram sounds. It's called Smoke That Crack Rock. And I play it and Smoke That Crack. And all these white people are dancing and then it stops. And I go, that's not a song. You just dance to Smoke That Crack Rock, right? And so, yeah, there is like a comedian aspect, because I'm so scared, I guess, to do stand-up, that this is my way of getting my jokes off there, too.
I told my buddy, I was like, I told my buddy, I was like, dude, he should do stand up. I was like, if he did stand up, and now I'm pretty into, like, I love watching comedians. I love watching comics. I love, watching their shows or their not their premieres. Their they have them on Netflix, like hour
specials.
Yep. And I was like, dude, this guy should have like that'd be so good for you.
I think that's a really good idea. If I could, because I already have like an hour worth of set that is like songs and stand up. But maybe that is a great idea, to try to work it into it being just like an hour-long special. That's a good idea.
There used to be like I listen to comedians all the time. It's probably the only other podcast I like consume. Yeah. And they always speak on like back in the day, or back whenever, like you had certain comics that would dance around and incorporate. Even Adam Sandler, he did his own. He has a entire I'm pretty sure it's a special on Netflix. And he was like singing and playing piano, purposely saying like things that you wouldn't want to sing along to.
Adam Sandler, even Bo Burnham, right?
Yeah.
With his like piano stuff. Yeah, I think there's a really cool place between like in stand up and music. Like there's this another bit that I do where I start playing like Kanye West Gold Digger, right? And I'm like, all right, everyone in the crowd, let's sing it. I got this again, times digs on me. She give me mine. I ain't saying she'll go when I'm in need, but she ain't messing with no broke. And then I stop the song and see how many white people say nigga. Then we go, like, dude, who said it? Who said, like, that's just like funny thing. Like, and then we point them out and we laugh at them.
Oh, right? Man.
Like, yeah, I love the comedic ass.
Stop there.
Yeah, and I ain't saying she no broke. All right, who said it? Where are you at? Yeah.
Oh, man, that's golden, dude. That's golden. So the suit, the whole, the personality behind that, where did that, I think I remember you saying the suit came from your father, the idea for that?
Yeah, well, my dad, he had me when he was 55. So that's the other name why the reason comes from like OldManSaxonn is I was born into this family where the patriarch of the family was this old man, right? So it's all these values and morals came from this old man, right? So yeah, and but the suit really comes from that first show that I had that I went to in Boulder. It was just these dudes with white t-shirts on stage, and then I realized you have to look better than the audience. As an opener especially, when no one knows you and you just come out there in a hoodie and everyone put your hands up. They're like, who are you? Like, okay. So if you come out, first thing, you saw it in the Netflix thing, you come out with a suit, like, oh, okay, this is weird. Let's see what we got here, right? Just to capture their attention. But that just comes from the idea of you have to look better than the audience. That's all the suit really is.
And that's, man, I think it was Machine Gun Kelly. I'm pretty sure he was saying, people asked him, like, why do you get so deep into your concerts? You're jumping around, you're sweating, you dress like the part. It's like, because you came to see me. I'm not just the mouthpiece. I'm the actor. I'm the performer. I'm maybe not actor, but the performer of it. I need to come across a certain way because it's like, you came for me, I'm going to show out for you in a way.
I think that the actor is the right word to use in that, right? I think that's I don't want to say that's the problem with hip hop, but that's one of the issues in hip hop is the line is blurred so thin between the artist and the person in hip hop, right? And if Beyonce was walking down the street right now, she wouldn't be in like a yellow, or a silver pointed bra thing with a crazy crowd. But if you saw T.I. walking down the street, he'd have his big chain. It's the same thing. Right, so I do separate myself from that civilian like I am right now, and then the person on stage. I'm acting 100% when I'm on stage. I'm acting, and I'm aware of it enough to say so. Absolutely.
That's such a cool thing to hear because I feel like that's how, like, when I go out again for the interviews and everything, it's like 99% of the day, I'm like the business guy, super analytical, super into numbers. I'm sitting there on my laptop, like working on this, crunching that. This needs to go. That's like I'm the analytical. Yeah. And then I have to log out, literally Control-Alt-Delete. And then it's like I'm acting. I'm like, what's crazy question, crazy question. And
I think the more you embrace it, the better, right?
Yeah.
It's just like separating yourself from that normal person. And that's what I do in hip hop. That's really why I wear the suit and the glasses too. It's a token to show that this is my stage persona. When I get off stage, completely different person.
Wow. Yeah. So this is probably the most, to me, it's like the most important part because despite, and I'm just going to name these accolades super quick so people who are listening can tangibly just bam, bam, bam. Despite being on a hit Netflix show, despite having music that has over 10 million streams on Spotify, despite being featured in shows and commercials all over the big screen, people's screens everywhere, commercials, despite having the Reddit threads that say this is like the guy speaking for me, despite all these different accolades that you have to your name, the thing that really stood out to me, I guess, was I told them too. I used the wording down to earth, but when even if you just go across your Instagram feed, right, you can see you kind of speak on the problems with hip hop, with rap culture, with this murder and this all this debauchery, all this craziness has became like the new norm of like, this is what you should aspire to. You should just aspire to have people out against you and want to kill you. And when you, and I think your series for it was called Evolution of the Op.
Yep,
is that
exactly?
When to see somebody to have these different accolades, but be so down to earth and be willing to speak on things that other people just simply won't, because for them it helps their narrative. For them it helps the music labels want you to spew that. Like,
oh yeah,
there's so much psyop and so much craziness to it where like they want it. And what makes you, or what has made you, I guess, so vocal and so transparent to say, hey, like, this isn't the way hip hop and rap grew up. You're supposed to showcase your talent, and your talent's the op. Your talent's the op. Like, I'm better than you. Watch this flow. Watch this verse. Watch this cadence. Not, I'm gonna come out and shoot at you and like. So what? Yeah, straight up.
I'm just gonna kill you. Well, yeah, that started with. I started to lose a little bit of the passion for what it was to make music. I just started to feel like, what is this? Like, what's happening right now, right? Like, and then to kind of fix that, I started to make it not about myself, right? So I started to go around kids more and start to ask them, like, what's going on with what type of music do you like? So how this all started is I went to this school right down the street from my house called Hallett Elementary, and I asked these kids, hey, kid, who's your favorite musical artist and what's the maximum age you see yourself living to? And the kids whose favorite musical artists were rappers, especially rappers that had died, only saw themselves living to their late teens, early 20s, right?
Oh, man.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. Let me keep doing this. And then the other kids who listen to gospel, pop, they saw themselves living closer to the national average. I'm gonna go to another school, do the same thing. My favorite rapper is King Von, XXXTentacion. All right, how old do you see yourself living to? 19, 20. Okay, that's weird. And so there ended up being like some data that was kept coming up. And then I talked about that research earlier of the woman who did research of the musical genres and how old they live. And the rappers died younger than any of the other ones. But the crazier statistic in that is half of those deaths by rappers are by homicide, right? So what do we got going here? My brain started just like working like, all right, so we have a genre where people are dying young. In that same genre, we're not necessarily talking about our future at all, like at all. Anytime a rapper is talking about like time in their life, it's like the past, I was broke and now I have money, or like just the present, I have money. Like it's never about the future. So I started to connect these things and say, okay, I also didn't see myself living into the future at all, right? And I remember 24 years old. Why does that keep popping in my head? 24 years old. And these songs started coming back. Ice Cube, Today Was a Good Day. Hooked it up for later as I hit the dough thinking, will I live another 24? He was just talking about living for 24 hours. But for the longest time, I thought he was talking about 24 years old. A couple years later, Coolio. He says, in Gangster's Paradise, I'm 23 now. Will I live to be 24? The way things are going, I don't know. So these rappers are scared for their future. They're dying young and they're hurting each other. What's going on, right? And I'm also, and I say this a little tongue-in-cheek, but also very seriously, I have a hard time just blaming black people for anything, just knowing the circumstances that they're in right now. Like, I don't think it's like a concentrated effort for black people to be like, you're the op, I hate you, yeah, this is what makes sense. I think there's a system of things that are going on around it to keep black people talking about harming each other, because that is the tactic that is used by the people in power from the beginning of time. Fight each other. And so when we had Public Enemy saying, fight the powers that be, don't fight each other, fight the powers that be, around that same time, gangster rap started happening. There started to be more infighting. And I just have to, and I'm just glad that now, as a person who was born into hip hop culture, I have the voice to talk about it in a way that's real, because I grew up with it. I'm in the culture, because I can imagine someone saying the same things that I'm saying and being not of the culture. Black people would be like, oh, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking. But I'm telling you.
That's why I'm quiet right now.
Yeah, it is affecting our children, because it affected me. And now I'm just aware enough to see that the OGs before us have kind of failed us by not knowing, by not seeing what's happening. And I'm not going to let that happen. If I'm an OG now, just at 36, I'm already an OG. I'm really OldManSaxon, whether people know it or not. That's an old age for the rap game.
And something I notice, and this is just my preconception, but it's like I see it now all the time as I see people like high school, whatever, going to prom, or college going to a certain event, or you're at like people are at like a frat party, sorority, and it's like people have certain music they listen to, and and you hear the substance behind it, and there's like 19-year-old like girls and 22-year-old guys and people who grew up in like white fence neighborhood, whatever, like, hold up, wait a minute, and like shoot up, and like all this, and the girls are like, and you think, and it's like, oh yeah, but people are having fun, of course, like you're expanding the culture, expanding the reach, whatever, but those are someone's daughters, those are someone's sons at the end of the day, and it's like, I don't know. I think it's all cyclical. I'm like, what substance? What are you trying? Are you trying to pacify? Like Kendrick, I think Kendrick said, "Are you trying to pacify with your music? Or are you trying to energize?" And if you are energizing, it's like, what's the substance behind it? You know, like you should be energized. Like, look at life. Look at what I came from. Look at this. Look at that. Your rhymes are whack. This, you know, that's gold. But to be like, I'm gonna like cut someone's throat and this and that, and you're like 19 in a car just jamming. I'm like, what the fuck?
We're at a time we let hip hop go unchecked for a little too long, and I think that's why it is where it's at right now. It used to be hip hop used to be influenced by other genres, right? By everything else. So we had disco at first. Disco, these are the break beats, and then we had another genres where our soul, where we would put the soul drums in there. But now we're at a point where hip hop is being influenced by itself, right? And so
the ego thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you have Future saying, I'm gonna leave rap, I'm gonna leave rappers specifically out of it. If you have a certain rapper talking about he does drugs in order to sell the music, but then in reality you don't do the drugs that you're saying you do, that is a strike. That's a strike against hip hop. That should have been like, hey, check, like let's figure this out. This guy shouldn't be able to. But it's become this thing where hip hop is what it means to be a rapper is not necessarily helpful to rappers, right?
For sure.
It's not. It's like what it means to be a rapper is to just not care about what your message is. And also, I want y'all, if people out there, if you have anybody who's in high school or younger, just ask them to freestyle. Just ask them to freestyle rap and see what comes out of that person's mouth. I guarantee someone will die in that rap. But you give them, you say, hey, I want you to make a freestyle a pop song. There's not going to be a murder in that song. Freestyle, a house, or anything. It's the only genre where the first thing that comes up in your mind is just murder. Just murder someone. Just willy-nilly, right? And it's that's an issue for me as a rapper.
And really. I feel like that's you have way more like credit to speak on it. And you know, even I, like I said, one of my buddies is super. I'm not gonna name blast, but he's very, very close with like one of the top artists right now. And even that artist behind the scenes is very self-aware of like, like the label wants this. Like the label's telling me, you know, to push. And it's not like he's like a servant to the label, but he's like, like I definitely get other incentives. I thought that was cool to hear because like nowadays there's so much, it's almost like incentivized, like murder. And I feel like you're taking the shortcut because you're basically saying like, my skills can't compete with yours. I can't, you know, slaughter you on a record, so I got to come at you in person. Yeah.
That is what it's like, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's not. It's once again, it has to be checked. We have to check it for just a second because the labels play such an important part in what sells. But then we're also at a time where it's like, oh, we don't need labels anymore. But we're so ingrained with the narrative of hurting other people that even without the labels, that is still what sells. That can't be right. That can't, and that's why even in some of my videos I bring up the idea that it's co-opting our imagination. You can't co-opt if you have the world of possibilities to talk about something, and the first thing your mind goes to is murder. That's a problem. That's an issue with your imagination. Because what would it mean to have the vast possibilities of the universe to talk about? Maybe, just maybe, you will start to overthrow the system that is currently keeping you down. But we don't want to talk about that. Kill that dude. He looks like that's what we want.
And I think it's almost like at a time where, and it's no secret, but you know, at a time where certain communities had so much going against them, and it's like now, like you could say, yes, there's more opportunity, there's more of this, there's more of that, but it's almost like so in people's memory that, okay, the way out, my ticket to punch to get out of this circumstance, that even if I do have more opportunity now than the 60s or 70s or whatever, even though that might be a factor, I've seen every year another artist has came out this kill zone and the way out was to speak on this. So I'm just going to speak on this. And I think you're almost like, it's like someone holding you down, and you're choosing to like not hold yourself down, but hold the guy next to you down too.
Absolutely. Well, even the thought of like someone talking about murder to get out of it, right? This isn't even anything new, because I remember when I was a kid and Snoop Dogg had his trial for murder, and that being like a huge thing, and then he beat the case, and it was murder was the case that they gave me, and it was like, oh yeah. Like murder, yeah, I beat that murder charge, and it's like, wait, what am I talking about? I'm 8 years old, right? And so that, yeah, it's not even a new thing. It's always been this idea, and also the idea of like, right, you can only get out of where your situation, either being playing basketball or doing sports or making music, right? Even that is a co-opting of your imagination, right? There's so many things you could do, but that's what they'll make you believe. 100%. That's 100% what they'll make you believe.
So let me, and I just want to let you know I've enjoyed this conversation. Has been,
thank you,
man. It's been amazing, and for everybody listening who, again, they might know who you are avidly, they might in passing, or they might not. For everybody that you could speak to through the camera, the younger generations, all of hip hop culture, all of rap culture, everything, what is like your top message and top takeaway from everything you've been through, all the adversity that you faced in your life, to now have like a home, and to now, you know, I guess a more
home. Yes, period.
to have that, and especially like to have a family, to have a wife, and that's something rap doesn't talk about at all, but to have a wife, to have all these things that, in all honesty, bring most people the deepest sense of happiness. To have all that, to go through everything you've went through as a human, as an artist, to go on the Netflix show, to have songs prosper, to play out shows, to do this. What is the top thing you would tell them from like facing the challenges you faced, and the top message that you could give to them?
Don't let them take your imagination. That's as simple as that. Don't let them let you be afraid of being who you are. Your individualism is who you are. The second you start thinking that you want to be like someone else, no, that's advice. The second I started trying to be someone else, I stopped. I had made sure that my story was the story, because as soon as I started to take someone else's story, I started to lose my passion for what I wanted to do. So the more, and this is the theme of the whole episode, the more specific the story, the more universal. Don't let them take your imagination. I promise. That's what they're trying to do. They're actively trying. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's what they're actively trying to do.
That is amazing, man. Yeah. I think for anybody listening, take that to heart. And at the end of the day, it's not, what you came. It is what you came from, yes, but it's not where you're at now. It's where you're going. That's like,
absolutely.
Man, so it's so important. You can be the life you're living at one chapter in your life. It could seem like, man, this is terrible. And then you re-identify yourself later down the line in ways you couldn't imagine.
Absolutely. And, even the song Hell Yeah, right?
We even talk about that.
Yeah, we haven't. But even that song was written during COVID, and it was meant to be like the simplest song that I could possibly make. And it was like my imagination of what it's going to be like when we're done with COVID. So it's Hell Yeah.
Yeah.
Found $20. Like, it's just a fun song when I was not having fun, right? But it's this idea that you still have this imagination that's deeper than your surroundings. Right?
Is coming from final. I'll try to make it super quick. Have it coming from what you came from, and having a song that reached globally, like people, 80,000 plus videos, everybody using it, and that's not even to put into perspective. The music video for it was so artistic, so vulnerable, so yourself. Yeah. Like to come from everything you came from, and have a song 4 years later, you dropped it 2021, 2025, it's being shared everywhere. #3 global on Instagram. To have that happen, how did that make you feel? Like, that had to fill you with
It was one
Delayed.
of the more surreal experiences because I just remember one day someone had commented under a previous Hell Yeah video like, this is the new viral song on Instagram. I was like, oh, what? And I went, it was at 39, next day 26, next day 15, next day 10, next day 3, and I was just like, oh, and you could see it's from Asia, Russia, Ukraine, all over the world, Indonesia, and it made me also realize, because I'm still in these schools talking to these kids about them not like taking your imagination, and I can finally say like, hey kids, you know that rapper that's your favorite rapper that was talking about shooting all these people, he doesn't have the number 3 song because that song can't be number 3 because people in Korea don't want to say I'm shooting these niggas. They don't want to say,
they just want to be happy.
They just want to say hell yeah, right,
man.
And so the fun, the fun that just comes from that song has finally started to reach other people, and it makes me so happy. And it's such a goofy song. I drown in all the things that I commit to. I'm at a shit zoo with all my dogs in a shit zoo. Like, what is that? Like, it's just a stupid line, but it's like, yeah, like, let's dance. And my stream, that song, since it went viral, I've gotten like 12,000 saves on, or 12,000 playlist ads on Spotify. Like, it's been going crazy, and it's just good to see that just like, your song doesn't have to be about anything crazy about street life. It could just be about enjoying yourself, right?
Man, enjoy.
And I'm talking about being broke in that song. I'm at a shit zoo, a zip zoo in my mouth, probably cold as an igloo, and then I say, oh, I've heard that before. I'm just making fun of hip hop. Or maybe now I'm hot as some. Honestly, it's bothersome to keep up with these trends. Not a good guy, but I'm gonna be there till the end. Time sure flies. Thought I'd be pushing a Benz or a Lambo. That's what I was thinking. Time sure flies. I thought I'd be pushing a Benz or a Lambo. Not even no stocks. I'm just fighting over ham bones. And it's just like, yeah, like you don't have to be. If a song can go viral and get big by still being self-deprecating to yourself and still having an imagination, that's something that you should follow. Nope, that's advice. That's something I follow.
Dude, that is amazing. All gems. I think there's no better way to end than on your song. Yeah. And I just want to say I appreciate you big time.
I appreciate
for
you,
coming
man.
out, man. Like, yeah, I mean, I can't. I enjoyed this conversation. You're everything I thought, like down to earth, humble. Like, dude, I enjoyed it, dude. I enjoyed it.
There you go.
I enjoyed it, man.
Appreciate you, man.
I'll leave it playing for the people. You can take all the royalties for it, and then I'll leave it playing for people who don't know. But peace out. Catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Do you have any upcoming shows or anything?
I got a show in Denver, July 25th. I just had a show 2 weeks ago in Fort Collins, which is also in Colorado. But yeah, I believe like if this song keeps popping off, I believe I'll probably start going to perform some more. But dude, I don't like performing out of state. I don't like being out of my house that long.
Nerve-wracking. And
dude, I had a show in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I prepped for the show, flew there, did the sound check, went back to the hotel, did the show, went back to the hotel, ordered the pizza didn't come, ordered a Wingstop, the shit was gross, went to sleep. And then I woke up, and I was still in fucking Oklahoma, and I was like, "This cannot happen. Like, I can't do this shit."
You can't with the pizza. You got to get the pizza.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere, real quick? So, OldManSaxon, Spotify, Instagram. Is there anything people could do, like merch, anything like that?
Ooh, so yes, Bandcamp. Go to OldManSaxon Bandcamp. I'm just created some 3D printed OldManSaxon characters of me on a boat so that you can have me on a boat because I'm never going to be on one. And so OldManSaxon Bandcamp, it should be up honestly by tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll make sure it gets in. I'll leave hyperlinks so people can click through. But
yeah. Oh yeah. Da-da-da-da-do. Just watch how I move. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm the game preacher, quick to delete ya. Get a whiff of this greatness that I'm a reek of. Take a breather, pleased to meet ya. Point behind, just getting sick off a Zika. He a fool, cool but I take you to school. Mad in the streets, mad in the street. Get out of your seat, give the data we need. You in the back of the lack, then who's the cap of this piece? Me? And not minding it, waiting on them to diamond nick. So when these cheapskates break, I come sliding in. Boo-boo the fool wouldn't do the shit you do, dude. You in the mood, but you should cool it for the cool cruise. I got a flow to make them booties move like voodoo. Ooh, he going crazy on this new tune. Judging by your face, I passed the smell test. You really spittin'. Hell yeah. to see if I got it. I'm like, hell yeah. Found $20 in your pocket. Damn right, hell yeah. Don't wanna be alone tonight, let's get grown tonight. Say hell yeah. Oh, you only about the profit. Damn right, hell yeah. Ooh. I drown in all the things that I commit to. I'm at a shit zoo with all my dogs in a shih tzu. Zip zoom, my mouth probably cold as an igloo. Or maybe now I'm hot as sun. Honestly, it's bothersome to keep up with these trends. Not a good guy, but I'ma be there to the end. Time sure flies, thought I'd be pushing a Benz or a Lambo. Not even no stocks, I'm just fighting over ham bones. Well, home, staying in the drip a bit. Watching no names, fight over significance. What is this I'm looking at? I beat you in a clean sweep, probably put the Roomba back. I'm a big boy. Don't feel like an outcast when I lose some stacks. Yeah, I'm about that action, is you cool with that? Judge it by your face, I pass the smell test. Hell yeah. Trying to see if I got it. I'm like, hell yeah. Found $50 in your pocket. Alright, hell yeah. I'm trying to get you out your seat. Come on, say hell yeah. If you know who I be, sing it. Hell yeah. Found $100 in your pocket. Alright, hell yeah. Oh, you really about the profit. Alright, hell yeah. Found $1,000 in your pocket. Hell yeah. Found $1 million in your pocket. Now I don't believe. That don't sound right.